Welcome back to another episode of the NYLTA Podcast, where we talk about all things regarding the New York LLC Transparency Act. My name is Tiffany Colon. I'm the COO of NYLTA.com.
And my name is Ryan DeFreitas, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of NYLTA.com. So, Tiff, we were talking about this prior to us getting on today. This is one of my favorite subjects, right?
You love to talk about this.
So you tell. Let's go ahead.
So what are we talking about?
Huh?
So we are talking about beneficial owners.
Okay.
So for those who are affected by the New York LLC Transparency Act, those who have to file, they either have to file a beneficial ownership information disclosure,
yes,
or an exemption attestation.
Correct.
So for the LLC owners who are foreign, they were created outside of the U.S. and they have to file beneficial ownership information disclosure.
Right.
Can we go a little bit into what exactly that means, who that pertains to, all of that stuff?
So let's dive into this. Beneficial owners. So you have beneficial owners that actually own the company. So you could have three partners, right? However they divide the ownership, 35, 22, whatever it is. As long as they are 25% more, they own at least 25% or more, they have to be listed on the beneficial ownership disclosure form, right? Okay. So now we have these partners, but what about CEOs? What about COOs?
So
that aren't owners.
Can give an example?
So let's say a corporation is owned by one individual, right? And they're more on the chair, right? So they have to get listed. So now you have a chief executive officer, you have a chief operations officer, you might have a chief marketing officer, anyone that makes
major.
Right. Okay. So major decisions, whether if it's they can approve, let's say income, budgets, contracts, things like that. They are operating the company, right, with the owner's consent, and they can make those decisions. Guess what?
Big decisions.
Right. Those major decisions. Right. They are considered beneficial owners. Yeah. So it's not just owning percentages of the company, it's whoever it is. And it's even for
key players,
even for smaller businesses, you have the owner, but then you might have a manager that runs the company and they make all the decisions.
A major director.
Right, major director. But so this is where people get confused. And why be, and especially if they don't have a compliance department, right? Because first of all, let's scale this back. How much is it going to cost them to have somebody they have to hire? I think when we looked into this, it was like $78,000.
Yeah, the average salary. For someone who is a compliance officer within a company,
right,
is about $78,000 a year.
Okay, that's one aspect. Okay, well, I can't afford that. Well, I'll just have my attorney do it. Well, now you're paying your attorney whatever it is, $700
per hour,
$600 per hour. How many hours do they have to do this and so forth? So when you look at the smaller businesses, they're trying to keep the lights on. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. The last thing they need to do is try to file something on their own, maybe make a mistake, right? And and then what does that mistake do? Penalty. Right? Or and why risk that? It's $500 a day. When you have a simplified platform like NYLTA.com, we walk you through that entire process. There's no thinking. The only thing that you need to have, and we tell you this before you start going into the site, is what you need to have at the time of filing. And it's very simple stuff that you'll have, which is like LLC formation, driver's license number, simplified stuff
on hand.
Things that you should know besides like what's your NYDOS number, maybe your EIN. People might forget that, but it's very easy accessibly, right? It's very easily accessibly. So that's why I tell people, listen, beneficial ownership it's a very vast thing, because people were confused with the federal BOIR.
Right.
Do not mix the federal BOIR with NYLTA.
Because it's different.
Right.
That wasn't with the federal Corporate Transparency Act.
Yeah.
Originally with filing, you had your beneficial owners,
Yeah.
but it wasn't necessarily key players, and you didn't have to have or list their role.
Right.
Or the start of their role to the end of their role for those key players who run the day-to-day business.
Sure. And, that's why there's so much confusion, because even for us, when we started the business, we had to go back and dive deep with our team and say, okay, well, how do they break down beneficial owner? Well, this is different. This is different. And then guidance. So what says the BOIR, the federal BOIR, doesn't do the same thing? And what happens when different states follow and this follows and then NYLTA? So, the thing that I think New York is doing right is they're implementing a law and they're being the first state to say, hey, we were the ones that said we need transparency. How many other states follow in the years to come? Right? So New York is actually paving the way. And I think it's
They're the first.
And again, NYLTA.com, which, we're going to constantly be evolving outside of New York as well, which is very exciting for us, right? We have a lot more projects. So, the challenge here is understanding beneficial ownership. Who has to file? Who doesn't have to file?
Right. Who has to be included in that disclosure?
Absolutely.
Also, what's another caveat for people who currently have to file based on guidance today is that you have to file something every year.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's look at it like this. All right. Beneficial ownership, you file that. What now? There's
that's it. You're done.
Right. No.
But you're not done.
But you're not done.
But you're not done.
So when you file your biannual report, right, and New York is biannually, and the thing is that that's another thing. So do I file the NYLTA biannually? No, it's every year. So that's where people are like, oh, okay, well, I'll just file it biannually. So you have some of those individuals that think it's tied to that, but this is separate from an annual report or biannual report. Yeah. You have to file this every year because the New York Department of State, what if there's a shift in business? A new CEO comes in, a new chief marketing officer comes in, someone that's making decisions. It has to be updated. If you moved your company address, guess what? You have to update that. Yeah. So it's always, this is not a one and done. And that's where people lose sight. And that's where hefty penalties come. That's what we don't want to happen. But guess what? That's why
they have us.
Yeah. You have a platform, right?
And that's where we come in because with, our monitoring or for those who need to file, it's 12 months of us keeping up and keeping track of what you need to know and what needs to be done. Yeah. So come time a year from now when, it's time to file that update because it's not what you've already filed.
Right.
It's have there been any changes?
And what's really cool is let's say a domestic company, they sign up for the monitoring service, which I would hope you sign up for the monitoring service to keep your company safe. And within that year, the law evolves. Guess what? Whatever they paid in the monitoring fee, it gets credited towards their filing.
Correct.
So, and then they get white glove service. They have phone calls with our team. So we walk you through every aspect of this process. That is worth it in itself to know that a law that can do a lot of damage financially, especially when you're a smaller business, it's not worth it to say, I'll deal with this later. And that's where people, it's like an alarm system, right? You don't know if you're going to need it, right? But I'd rather have it than not need it than
need it and
not have it, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't get everything right all the time, but I think I'm right on this one where it's one of those things. It's one of those things. So, it's one of those things where you don't want to get caught off guard and you don't have to. No. It's very simple. Go through our process, boom. And now you could say, I don't have to worry about that.
Right. Because you filed your information, your beneficial ownership information.
Yeah.
Through our platform,
yeah.
We take care of it for you. In a year's time, we're back.
And that's
we're
it.
Back.
And then
hey,
on top of that,
time. Any changes?
And on top of that, NYLTA doesn't just talk about NYLTA news. If there's anything coming with any new law or anything down the rabbit hole.
With compliance.
Anything with compliance that hits New York, guess what?
You're getting notified.
Yeah, we are there. We're not just here to shove NYLTA down your throat. We're there as a compliance guru. And as we evolve, we're going to keep evolving as a organization.
For the state of New York.
Yeah, for the state of New York.
Because right now it's just specifically for the New York LLC Transparency Act.
Right.
But because we're so deeply committed to LLC owners.
Absolutely.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
And we're going to be offering more services to make sure you can go to sleep at night knowing everything is being taken care of.
Yeah. So with that said, I hope that gives you guys a little bit more insight. If not, you can always go to our blogs page at nylta.com to learn more specifically about different subjects, and just like the subject today on beneficial ownership or exemption attestation. But go to our website, click the link on the bottom. If you love our content, subscribe. And you can always find us on Meta, Facebook, Instagram. We are out there. You're not alone. And thank you for joining us on another episode of NYLTA.com, where we make
compliance made simple.